Hey, what is going on, guys? This is SMEV Reviews, and today we're taking a look at the newest album from Gorillaz titled The Now Now. Let's get to it. While probably 95% of you do know this, the 5% that are tuning in and don't know this, I will clarify. Gorillaz are a purely fictional band, purely made up by the artist Jamie Hewlett, and as well as David Albarn of Blur, who provides the music and the vocals. And it's really interesting. Just the concept as a whole has always just fascinated me. Not that it's some crazy thing, but it is different and it's interesting, and it's an actual fictional band that is popular and has done well. It's different, and I don't know, I like it. Plus, just watching some of their live concert videos of just their holograms, it's just interesting. It's different, it's a different style, and hey, something different to mix up the musical landscape, I'm okay with it. So, I've not extremely got into the Gorillaz, but I do like them. I think Humans was probably one of their weaker albums. It was just way too feature heavy and didn't really let the fictional character 2D, which again is just David Albarn, sing and really shine. But besides that, it was fine. I just didn't really like it that much. But some of their past stuff, they've had some really good songs. And while I am not the biggest Gorillaz fan. I do really like them. I'm just not obsessed with them. And so whenever I heard Humility, the lead single off of the Now Now, I was pretty excited. It was a lot different than what we've heard, and while Gorillaz tend to mix up their sound, they definitely lean a little towards that hip-hop sound. They always have a little bit of rap usually in their music, even though their style might change, whether it's like Humans was much more trap influenced, whereas some of their older stuff has still had quite a lot of rock, just with rap features or elements to it. And so when I heard this, it was a lot different than the general landscape of Gorillaz music, as well as Lake Zurich. It was different, but honestly, I didn't mind it. I really did like the sound. Yes, it's different, and for a lot of fans, that might be not be a welcome change. But for someone who just likes the Gorillaz, I do like it, and honestly, I do think David Albarn really does shine in this band, just as a vocalist, and I think that when he gets a chance to really sing, it works well. I really do like his voice that he uses in this, and I was excited. And honestly, as the singles kept coming, I was still pretty excited. I mean, maybe all of them weren't perfect, but honestly, I did really still look forward to it. And honestly, the whole album just sounds just like those lead singles. If you listen to Humility or any of the singles leading up to, I believe there are 5, you know what you're getting into. It's all a very happy, chilled out kind of sound, very summery. And it really fits in with the season that it came out, and honestly, I think it was a perfect album for the season. I'm not saying the album's perfect, but it really does have that summer beach type laid out chill groove to it, and I do really like that. This album's very interesting. It's got a really hard genre bending sound, and it's not that every song sounds like a different genre. It actually is pretty cohesive. It just really has, it doesn't really fit into the mold of a lot of different genres. It's not really rock, but it's not simply pop, and it's that, like I said, they've moved away from hip hop with this album, so it does get a little hard to pin down a really good genre for it. And hey, I'm okay with that. Doing something a little different and a little out of the box is okay by me. And this album really does do that. Like I said, Humility is a great song. It features George Benson, and it really, the guitar is excellent. It really does sound good. And the synthesizers that accentuate it, it really does sound terrific. Plus, it's a pretty multi-level track. I mean, it could be talking about Brexit, just from what I'm realizing. I mean, it is talking about not wanting to be in isolation, and that's what people in Britain are going through with Brexit. So it could be very politically driven, or it could literally be about loneliness. And honestly, it's a really good song. David Albarn sounds great. I really do like that track. It's one of the standouts on the album. Definitely a good choice for a lead single. One thing to say is that this album does have a really good groove. A lot of these are very danceable and very fun, and I do really like them. They're very funky and energetic, and while none of the lyrics are incredibly deep, it works. I really do like it. And they're not, while I say the lyrics aren't deep, they're not dumb either or very surface level. It's just, they're just lyrics. I can't really praise or make a negative for them. They're fine. I can't they don't get extra credit. Whereas some Gorillaz songs do really get some extra credit for those lyrics. So it is a little weaker lyrically, but I think it makes up for it just in their creativity and the difference of sound that they're going for. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people say that this album kind of bleeds together, and I could see that at some points, but really, while a lot of the songs are very funky and do have a lot of synthesizers, they're very unique in their own right. I mean, you can't really say that one Bleachers to say something sounds like a flock of seagulls. They're very different synthesizer sounds, and it's very recognizable. And so, honestly, I do think that these are very different songs, and I don't really have that complaint. I could see it a little bit, but I don't really have it. Now, if anything, my biggest problem is the lack of substance, which sounds weird because I was just talking about how the lyrics are fine. It is a general complaint, but it's because there's a lack of lyrics. There are lyrics in this album, not to say that any of these, I'm pretty sure every song at least has some, while Lake Zurich and one more song has minimal lyrics. It still has lyrics. It's just a lot of them are repeated, and there's a lot of instrumental time. Now, that's okay if the instrumental was not repeating the entire time, even while lyrics are going. It doesn't get too creative, and usually it's just kind of a synthesizer tone that kind of repeats with some flares here and there. It can get kind of monotonous during some of these songs and just leave a lot of dead space that could have been cut out. And I think that that's one of the biggest complaints I have with this album. There are some bad songs. There are some really good ones. Like I said, Humility, as well as the last 3 tracks on this album, I do really enjoy. But there's some that aren't great. It's just, there's a lot of dead weight here. I feel like a good half of this album wasn't really necessary, and we could have tried to push it off for another year, since we did get Humans just last year, and wait and have something a little more fleshed out, and I would have been okay with that, because I do really like this approach that Gorillaz was taking. It just was a little too shallow, honestly. 2 of the songs that I really don't like are Idaho and Lake Zurich. I think they're an excellent example of a lot of dead space. And I did mention Lake Zurich being good. I think it's good for what it meant for the album. I thought it was interesting, and it meant good things for the album because it was a very different style. But the song itself just does not work. It is primarily instrumental, and that's not my problem. I don't have any problem with the instrumental. It's just very repetitive as an instrumental, and there's not enough interesting things to grab you and keep you interested in the instrumental itself. And on top of that, it really just, it's not that good of an instrumental. It's boring. Like I said, it's repetitive. Yeah, I just can't really get into it. Plus, it's one of the longest songs on this album. And Idaho is very minimalistic, and I could see some people liking it. It's one of the slower tracks on here, but it just has so much dead space of just uninteresting instrumental sections, and it just drags on, and it's just one of those songs that it really exemplifies the problem I have with this album. Hollywood, Fireflies, and 1% are 3 of the tracks I do really enjoy. 1% is a really shimmery and sparkling instrumental. Mainly there's a little lyrics, but it's mainly an instrumental, and I do really enjoy it. I feel it works way better than Lake Zurich. Fireflies is a really dark and brooding song, and it really sounds good. It gives a nice little down from mainly a pretty summery, happy album. And then Hollywood is a really good song that features, it's the only other features in this besides obviously Humility with George Benson. It has Snoop Dogg and Jamie Principle, and honestly, all 3 singers in this song sound great. Damon Albarn sounds really good in this song, and I do really like it. It's one of the most interesting and one of my favorites on this album. But besides that, it works in some places, and I really do like the concept that they were going for. It just doesn't quite work as a whole, and that's really unfortunate. I think I really do like the approach that they were going for. I do like the concept. I do like this sound. I just feel like it wasn't quite polished enough. It has way too much dead space, and some of the songs, while I said it doesn't really bleed together, some of the songs are just kind of uninteresting compared to some of the others. And it really does just kind of bog this album down. It's a fine album. I don't hate it by any means. It's one of the better albums. It was better than Humans, that's for sure. And it is still a good album for this year as a whole. It's not their best, and it's not the best album. It's fine. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. What did you think of this album? Is there anything I can do to improve the quality of my videos or any upcoming albums that you'd like me to check out? Please let me know. Also, I have a Twitter, so please check that out. I post a lot of reviews for albums I didn't get to actually do a formal review of, and I just kind of post my thoughts on music. So check me out, SMAB Reviews on Twitter. Also, it's in the description. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. It really does mean a lot, and I'll see you guys later.